the previous video, we looked at several examples of printed web pages. Now, we'll take a web page and make it more printer-friendly using print style sheets. So here we have a web page that you may recognize from other videos, and we are going to create a print style sheet for it. So the first thing we need to do is flip over to our text editor, and in our HTML, we need to specify that the style sheet we currently have is of media type all. And then we need to link in a second style sheet for when the website is actually printed. And I've already gone ahead and created print.css, which resides in our style sheet folder. And we just need to link this in. So let's go ahead and copy and paste what we have here. And we'll change style.css to print.css. And we want to change the media attribute to print. Now, the first thing you want to do before you start creating a print style sheet is you want to check and make sure your markup looks good without CSS. If you have nice semantic markup, you should be well on your way to creating a good print style sheet. So let's go ahead and just say style2.css, which doesn't exist, so it should break our style sheet and make it 404. And we'll refresh the page here. And as we can see, we have pretty semantic markup. We have a headline here, a second level headline, our navigation, and our posts with the photos. So let's go ahead and switch back, and we'll go ahead and fix that, and we'll refresh the page, and then we're back to normal. So now let's go ahead and switch over to our print style sheet, and let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is remove any kind of backgrounds. So on our HTML and our body, we'll go ahead and just say background, none. And right now we have a gradient background on our body, and this will remove it, which will save ink, which creates a nicer user experience. So let's go ahead and switch back to the browser. And to preview our print style sheet, we need to first refresh the page, and then we need to go ahead and print the page. And we're going to say preview, which in macOS 10 will generate a PDF. And it should look like that. And we'll go ahead and increase the size of this here. And so far, this is what our print style sheet is looking like. And as you can see, we've removed the background. Now, of course, the browser will remove backgrounds by default, but it's always a good idea to go ahead and do this anyway, just in case a user is using a browser that does not do this by default. Now, creating a good-looking print style sheet is very similar to creating a style sheet for mobile devices. It's all about eliminating as many elements as possible and cutting down a page to the bare essentials. So, looking at this page, I think the first thing we need to do is remove the navigation so that we can put more focus on the content. So let's go ahead and close this, and we'll go ahead and switch over to our text editor, and we'll select our navigation, and we'll say display none. And we'll go ahead and switch back to our browser and refresh the page. And we'll go ahead and preview this print style sheet again. And as you can see, we've now removed the navigation. Now we should also probably try to remove this sidebar, and we should probably remove this subtitle, because although they would be nice to have, they're not really necessary if somebody is printing this page. They probably just want to read these articles here. So we'll go ahead and close this, and we'll switch back to our text editor. Actually, in addition to navigation here, we want to remove a sidebar, and inside of the header, we want to remove our second level headline. So let's go ahead and refresh the page, and again, we will preview our print style sheet. And if we go ahead and take a look at this, you can see that we now have no sidebar, and we've removed that subtitle. So next, let's go ahead and center the header, and we'll make it a little bit smaller. It's good to have there, but it really shouldn't be emphasized as much as it is. So we'll go ahead and say header, and change the float to be none. And we'll select the first level headline inside of our header. And we'll lower the font size to 2 Ms. And we'll say text align center. So we'll go ahead and switch back to the browser, refresh the page to get the new print style sheet, and then go ahead and preview the page as a printed page. And if we zoom in here, you can see that our header is now centered on the page, just like that. Now the next thing we need to do is make our content span the width of the page. We removed the sidebar, but our content isn't going all the way across. So let's go ahead and switch back to the text editor. And we'll make some room to work here. And we need to select our content div. And very simply, we'll just say width 100%. And let's go ahead and check that out as a printed page. And there's what that looks like. Now, there is some cleaning up that we need to do in these posts. We need to add a little bit of padding so that these images can float nicely. And we also need to adjust the font size so that it's a little bit more readable. It's a good idea to set a font size of 12 points on text that is just paragraph text. So let's go ahead and close this and switch back to our text editor here. And we need to select the posts. So we'll say content with the class post. So we'll give it padding of about 30 pixels and we'll lower the font size down to 12 points. And we'll switch back to the browser, refresh to get the new print style sheet, and preview it as a PDF here. And now you can see that our images are floated to the right very nicely with plenty of padding around them. And our text is a lot more readable. So let's go ahead and close this. And there's one more thing that we should do with our print style sheets as just a final touch. We have these URLs here in our posts, and it would be a nice addition to show the URLs that these link to just after the links, because of course when these are printed out, you can't see where these links are actually pointing to. So we're going to do a neat little trick with CSS. So we'll switch back to our text editor, and we'll skip down some more here, and we'll say content, and again we'll select the posts, we'll select all of the anchor tags, and then we'll use the pseudo class after. And then inside of our selector, we'll use the content property, and we need to give it a little bit of a tricky value here. In quotes, we're going to open parentheses, and then we're going to use the attribute and say href, and then we're going to go ahead and close our parentheses again. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to grab the href attribute of our anchor tags and print it just after the links. So we'll go ahead and switch back to Google Chrome and refresh the page. And then we'll go ahead and preview this as a PDF, and we'll center this on our screen. And then when we zoom in here, you can see that we now have the URLs just after the links. So if you print this out and you want to visit the URLs for these links later on, you can go ahead and do that. Remember, print style sheets don't mean you have to give up design. They're just another way of viewing the same content.